Super happy to be here. I'm definitely going to change the time to 1 because that 20-minute energy session that I'm doing is a crazy, beautiful experience. Ah, so you know what? And I just need time to recover from the beauty of the energy. So let's see. I took a picture of the grid today. I built a huge grid out in the front big salon, in the grand room, in the front room. And then this is what it looked like. Okay, so that is that big pink amethyst in the center. And then those squares that you see, the squares, the 3 squares, there's one at the top, 2 at the bottom. Those are the fairy stones that I have that are the orange selenite. And then the 2 triangles that you see that are kind of like arms at the top, that is organite, sorry. And then there's pyrite, there's emerald, calcite, there's clear quartz. And those are the stones that are in use on the grid. It was really beautiful, a beautiful experience, and I really, really love it. I think I might put like maybe 1 or 2 more of them together. So on Mondays at 12, from 12 to 12:20, it's probably 12 to 12:30 because like that's when I'm starting to come back, and I'm doing a remote energetic healing with crystals. It's a crystal energetic healing, and all you have to do is receive a ticket. So you have to go online and put your name in so that I know who's in the container for the day, right? And then I do a thorough session, and that's a compliment from Body Studios and myself. And I might do it again on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and on Friday. I haven't really extended it yet, but right now it's at 12 o'clock on Mondays, and it's usually good for a reset for the week. And I really enjoy it. It allows me to ground. Today is a really beautiful day, and there's just so much going on externally, right? And this weekend I did a Reiki and shamanic retreat, and it was really beautiful. The the women that participated, oh my gosh, 9 beautiful, lovely individuals, and I just love each and every one of you for allowing yourself to really put yourself out there. And goodness, so I'm coming off of like doing a lot of attunements, and just like the energy is really beautiful for me. But what was mentioned in the group was that when they leave the class, or they leave the workshop, and then they go home and they try to do some of the things that they learned, it's a different energy, it's a different aspect of what they're creating, right? And when you notice contrast, okay, that is a recognition. It's letting you know that you're in a set point, okay? And a set point allows you to have choice. You have to come into acceptance, surrender to what the process is, whatever is going on, surrender. Just go, okay, here I am, here it is, this is it. Then you can say, well, now what would I like? Now what would I like? Because now you're in that recognition, that set point, okay? Life is really funny. I I base a lot of things on energy, like a lot of things on energy. And it was because it made sense to me when I first learned about those languages. Okay. It wasn't because I wasn't practicing it already in my life. We all practice it. We don't notice it because it's not a language that we're familiar with to speak about energy. And energy is malleable, and energy brings in material aspects, and it gives you emotion and thought, and it's this animation of life. And so when we look at things like that, and we allow ourselves to be more of our energetic self rather than our physical recognizable 3D reality based self, right? We're still creating that separation. And so, what I like to practice is the harmony of mind, body, spirit. So, our thoughts are who we are, our feelings are who we are, and our physicality is who we are. What I what I have been practicing is a language to myself that allows me to receive the love that I have to offer. I used to think that that love had to be offered to others so that I could feel love for myself. It doesn't necessarily have to go in that order. I do need to love myself in order to love others. So there was a lot of self acceptance and self worth that I have worked through to manage to create a language that loves me back. All right. I didn't grow up with that language. The language I grew up with was very limiting. It taught me to be very auto accommodating to a patriarchal society, which is, what we live in. And that is something that I'm determined to change for myself in my experience. So I, I speak differently of what goes on around me. If I'm seeing something that's really disharmonious and out of balance, I'm going to recognize it for what it is, in my opinion, in my perception, so that I can create a construct to operate in a safe and comfortable way for my life. That's what we do with everything that we come up to or come across. It's difficult when you first start speaking lovingly to yourself because it isn't something you may be familiar with. Like, ooh, I really like I chose this blouse today. I'm really happy I have my hair like this. I love how full of gratitude I am, right? I have a lot of tangible and intangible love vibrational offerings that I'm weaving love, the vibe into, right? Because we like attachment, because in that way we're attuning it. So when you love a necklace, when you love your coffee, you're drinking love, you're wearing love. That's why you've attuned it to those energies and you've allowed it to be that representation for you in a physical sense. It doesn't mean that love is physical. It's not necessarily attached to anything until we say so. We wrap relationship up in that word, right? But that word, relationship, is duality. That's what it is. It's duality. It's learning behavior. It's learning whether or not we can accept the behavior of another individual in a partnered experience. Our partnered experiences run the gambit of many different styles of relationships and lifestyles during those relationships. Relationships are not exclusive to uh, uh, romantic relationships. There are sibling relationships, parental relationships, friend, association, anything that you can think of are relative to who you are. If you start to allow yourself to understand that you're related to what you wear, you're related to your experience and all that's in it. You're related to every component. So if you have distaste for a human being in your experience, you have distaste for yourself because it's relative to you. If you have dissatisfaction, if you have something that tells you that somebody is less than you so that you could feel better, then you're distorted. You're distorted because you're not telling your truth. Your truth is, this is my reflection. How I feel is how I show up to that particular conversation. Can I love myself enough in the way that I speak to myself to not have this fear of who that individual is? Because I'm afraid to find out who I am, right? In that, what I'm learning is that it's okay for me to have trepidation. It's okay for me to have fear. It's okay. That's like part of my nature. It's part of my capability. It helps me stay safe a lot of the time. It's sometimes it's where I love you, Ashley. Hello. Happy Monday. it's where I it's where I'm able to look at myself and like unpack what's going to be most beneficial for that particular circumstance. How I show up is my choice. I can say that I'm reactive because of a circumstance and then, you know, allow my behavior. However, I'll be dissatisfied at the end of that experience because I haven't taken ownership of how I really want to feel. So my my energy is in curiosity of, well, this could be better. Maybe this could have been like this or this or this. And staying really connected to who I am and what I am perceiving in that moment, not in a I have to hold it this way and it can't change, but in a, oh, I see how it is right now and it can move. I want it to have movement because maybe I'm not liking everything in the experience, but what I do like is it feels like it's been given, right? So I'm holding it like this with open hands rather than this. That allows for it to leave or come back or leave and be replaced by something else because I'm willing to allow the change or the shift to occur. And that's a very constant experience for us. We plan, and then the next thing that happens is that it moves into a space of understanding. Then we mess with it, we fuck with it, and we tell it, well, I want the bow that's yellow that I put on there to be pink. And then we create dissatisfaction, we create that separation. Or I want it to be like this because it's not like that. And that's only because we haven't asked for what we really want. We're asking for an object, we're asking for a way to practice what it is that we desire. If we're wanting love and we think that a romantic relationship is what is going to produce that love, we're going to do a lot of self realization and discovery to find out who we are in order to know what love is and how to love an individual. We'll learn how to love ourselves, then we'll be more ready for the individual that we wish to partner in allowing themselves to love themselves so that when we come together, it's like that. It's comfortable, right? Being selective is a way of setting a boundary for yourself in love. Choosing who it is you want to share your vibrational offering with. When you're happy, would you like to walk into a room of happy people, or do you want to walk into a room of miserable people? Right? Choose and select with care and with love toward you how it is you want to show up and who you want to surround yourself with. A lot of times we'll feel very pressured because we have deadlines or outside influences that tell us that we have a timeline that has to be met. And in that, we feel very wrapped up in that connection. And we'll start telling ourselves stories. Maybe one of the stories could be something like this: I'm so good at getting things done on time. I love how I have set procrastination aside. I know procrastination is my friend when I'm processing a trigger before I get to do something. I understand that. Procrastination is telling me that I have a block or a stagnant energy or story in front of me that I need to clear so that I can move forward in the way that I would like. Okay? So I'm so glad that I worked through or with procrastination. I'm happy that I learned to listen to myself, to listen to my ideas, to listen to my feelings and emotions, and to really check in before I decided to move forward with whatever it is that I'm choosing. I'm allowing myself to be the authority in my life. I'm allowing for my words to matter to me. I'm allowing myself to hear myself. I can hear myself right now. I hear myself saying, I love you. Ooh, I love you. Now you're feeling it because you're in that moment of vibrational understanding and connection. You've connected your cellular network and your mind and your physicality, okay, to one experience. Now everything is showing up all at once. So, what would you like to co create in this space? When we ask for objects, the objects are to practice a feeling and thought vibration simultaneously in an experience. Okay? Happy full moon! All right? So, in that thought and feeling vibrational offering, what would you like to think and feel in that physical experience? Because that's what you're aiming for. Usually, when we ask for something physical, the physical object, when it appears, gives us the safety and comfort to be able to practice what we were asking for, which is ease, comfort, fun, happiness, joy, love, whatever it is that we are telling ourselves we need a physical experience to land that practice into. And if we're not familiar with how to practice that vibration before the experience of physical shows up, we will continue to practice the distortion and lack that produce the need for another experience in that new experience. It's a cycle. So the idea is to really sit in who you are. This Aquarius full moon is the best. And then we have retrograde with the loving Mercury, who's now in Leo. So we're all on fire in our thoughts, and we're all trying to take care of business, right? And really, it's slow down and listen to you. What do you really want? What do you really need to support you in your experience? We have tasks, we have a lot of things that we agree to because we're in a society that helps us conform to processes, external processes. Those are ways that we land our spirituality. We have feelings and thoughts in everything. That's your spirituality. Feelings and thoughts. You may have principled actions that are steeped in what is conditioned for spiritual definition, right? Yet everything that you do is that. You are that. You already are that. So, how would you like to represent yourself to yourself in your experience? Because you're the one who's going to judge you. You're going to judge you to either be enough or not be enough, for the experience to be enough or not be enough. And really, when you're looking external, you're talking about internal. So, giving yourself the benefit of the doubt, saying things like, oh, this is how this showed up. Okay, I think I could work with that. I could work with that. And then you sit in it for a second. You go, oh, okay. And you're bringing your energy. You're calling your energy back to you because you've been out manifesting. You've been pushing your energy. You push your energy when you're asking. You're pushing the universe away from you so that you can add another experience in front of you, right? And then you let it populate. That's your allowance. That's how we receive. So it has to come through the myriad of filters that you've created, all the constructs from past experiences, right? And depending on whether or not the canals are wide open or very closed, is whether or not you have to do work. The work that I'm talking about is learning how to speak to yourself favorably, telling yourself that it matters, that it's perfectly okay to be you, right? And then looking for different ways to weave a story that allows you to be the victor in the story, all from a point of recognition. Let's say you had, this is a perfect season too, right? Because we're in Mercury retrograde. So let's say in Mercury retrograde, you're having conversations that aren't hitting, they're not hitting the way that you would like for them to. And so you're trying to circle back to go back to the conversation with the individual. And the idea is that it is internal. That's what retrograde is trying to teach you. It's an internal dialogue that has to change in order for the external expression to change. So internally, you're checking to see what your story is. Like, what is my story around this circumstance? Is it in limitation? Am I limiting myself by my story? Am I saying that things can't be done because I've never experienced them in that way? Am I saying there's no possibility in this at all? Or am I allowing that, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm seeing, what would I like to experience now? It doesn't mean the circumstance and physical changes. It means you change, and then everything externally changes. Everything changes when you allow yourself to understand that you are the articulation or the storyteller, narrator of your experience. You're like the guy on the mic in the background going, and now her guides are talking to her. And as her guides talk to her, she's formulating ideas. She's really getting into the aspect of that's the voices in your head, right? So just allowing yourself to, if that MC isn't who you want, right? If they're a clown, then get them out of the circus that's going on, right? Get them out. Do something else. Choose a different narrator, maybe a different voice to say, I want it to be like English, or I want it to be like, I want it to have this kind of an accent when you talk to me, right? And it's your higher self, it's your consciousness. Energy is malleable, and it's really wanting to give us everything because it's us. We want everything, so it wants to give us everything. Okay? We're the ones that say, oh, I can't have it though. And the energy is just like right here saying, sure you can. Sure you can. And so in our mind, in our heart, and in our body, we have to come into a synergy, right? To where we all come together, all those bits and pieces of us, mind, body, spirit, come together and then go into co-creation. When we go into co-creation with just our mind, all right, we are not setting an intention. We are creating, and we are pulling in information, and we're allowing it to be what it can be, yet we're not articulating a focused desire of outcome. All right? And what you're naming in that moment is your point of ease. What will bring you ease to receive that experience? What is it that you believe you need? All right? If you can wrap it up in a feeling and a thought, right? Like, oh, I would like to feel more gratitude. Gratitude is an easy base for me to go to. Or I would like to experience more beauty in my life, right? You're setting the tone of how you wish to put your glasses on to view your experience. So if you're coming from a place of dissatisfaction and you're like, oh yeah, yeah. I remember I don't like where I'm at right now. I don't like it at all. I think I need something different. I'm going to go over there. Guess what? Still the same glasses. You haven't changed the glasses. So what I do is this is a practice that I have. The practice is very easy. I like to sit and center. Just sit and center. I sit in the middle of the energy that I've created around me through thought and vibration, right? I just sit in the middle of it and I go, okay, let's see what kind of chaos I've created around me. So I sit in the sea of chaos and I feel like maybe the Queen of Hearts or the King of Hearts or the King of Swords, or I'm one of the trump cards that's gonna be able to manage it, right? But I'm not dipping in it too much. I just need to observe it first. So as I'm observing it, I'm going to begin telling myself about it. As I begin telling myself about it, that is going to create the vibrational offering I will live next. So if I start by saying, oh, that was so hard, I'm in recognition. So I'm good so far. That was so hard. It was so challenging. It made me have to, those phrases, right? Don't they sound limiting, right? Okay, great. But you're in an understanding that allows you to be in a, oh, okay, so here I am. I'm right here. What would I like to do? What would I like to do? And that may be the wrong question. Maybe the question is, what would I like to think? What would I like to feel? Maybe that's the question. Because maybe the trappings that you have for the experience that you thought that you wanted are not the trappings. It's merely you and the articulation of the trappings, right? We see it across many different indigenous cultures, how satisfaction is built in to a way of life, a practice, to where they're always enough. They're always centered. They're in understanding because they understand perfection. They understand relativity. They understand that you are me and I am you. And if I would like a better life, I need to be a better person. If I would like to have a happier life, I need to be a happier person. It isn't because something external can make that happen. It's because it's an internal choice of expression. If I want to be madder, I can be madder. if I want to be happier, I can be happier. But the core of all of those experiences is based in selection of self and choice as to how you wish to feel in that particular circumstance. Sometimes we have such deep associations. Maybe you watch cartoons, all right, and that's where the association came from. It doesn't matter where it comes from, you just have an association. So let's say every time you see the color red, it means stop, don't, please. Okay, it's like this. That's what that color feels like. Then you grow up a little bit and red is introduced to you, and maybe like a favorite shirt or a favorite wearable, right? And all of a sudden red has two different connotations. Now you have one that feels like contrast and you have one that feels like acceptance. In those two vibrations, you're simply on one pole called red. They both exist every time, no matter what you're doing. So you'll experience contrast because you're investigating why it is the way that it is, and it's where you've come from. And then you're deciding that you would like to jump over to this end of the teeter-totter. So you'll immediately start working with due diligence on where you think you need to be in order to have the experience you're asking for. This middle thing from this end to this end, you're going to work through every last little bit of that until you get there. And when you get there, you'll find out that where you want to be is in the middle, which is understanding and authenticity. It's recognition of what the surroundings are, and it's understanding that you can still show up the way that you would like to. These are just notions and illuminations that I have. I was working really deeply recently with Pluto the planet. And I work with Pluto an awful lot. And because I do a lot of deep emotional work. Doesn't that make sense? So Pluto's in retrograde right now. And in September, we'll go back into Capricorn. So right now, we have the Aquarius full moon, and we have Mercury in Leo, and then we are having Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde. So in all of this, it is an internal journey. It's a slowing down to find out why you think, say, and feel who you are. In that allows you that self-exploration with impunity. You're not going to beat yourself up because you're looking at who you are, right? It's going to allow you a broader voice and maybe an easier way to tell the story of who you are, right? The way that, like, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, okay? I've been with a lot of stuff in my life. Oh, wow, fuck, here I am now. I became a lot of stuff in my life. I have a lot of capabilities. I'm the energy of everything I've ever been. That's where I'm at now. I'm the energy of everything I've ever been. So I know how to be happy. I could be happy because I could feel happy, and I can choose happy because I have an articulation to myself of what happy is. You have to understand what happy is in order to feel it. What is happy to you? Happy shouldn't be attached to anything because it's a vibration. Happy is a feeling, like love, like hate, like anger, like grief, like joy, appreciation. And it isn't attached to an outcome. It's not attached to a physical aspect. It's you. When you decide to be one of those things, right? Any of those vibrational offerings, you will wrap it up in the task that you're in. So for me, I often choose happy and love as my vibe. And I feel like I'm most authentic when I'm in those vibrational offerings. When I practice channeling the vibration to me, when I practice feeling the vibration internally, I am in full expression of it externally, and my external world changes because I am my expression of my experience. Okay. Now, we've talked a lot about like laying groundwork for like words and hearing and feeling and all that beautiful stuff, right? But what's the real skinny? What's the real skinny? What does it take to be happy? Okay, allowance and surrender. You have to surrender to what is and then decide to be happy anyway. That's it. Because your circumstance can't tell you how to feel. You tell you how to feel. So we select different feelings and emotions and we attach it to circumstances that have happened. My mom died. Okay, I'm in grief. Now, grief, and she died around Christmas, which she didn't. She died around the 13th of Christmas, 13th of December, but it was associated to Christmas. Could have easily gone the opposite way into Thanksgiving, but because Christmas was more impactful, I could wrap it in there. So now I have a loop, a pattern now. My pattern is that every time Christmas approaches, from about that date until Christmas, I'm going to feel sorrow and grief around my mom. I'm not going to want to feel that, but that's the construct I've created. So I'm automatically going to go in there and then I'm going to want to feel something different. So now I'm going to be of two vibrational offerings. Maybe I want to feel joy. Now I might feel manic. I might be like, oh my God, I'm so happy. No, I feel so bad. It's all a story that I've attached those feelings and vibrations to that I could pull up because they make sense and they connect, right? And that's what I'll re-experience. So I have a choice as to how I would like to connect the energy to my experience. Slowing down and allowing yourself is a big part of that. Allowing yourself to be who you truly are and really recognizing that. Maybe I was a shitty person to somebody today, right? Maybe I have to sit in that shit and I have to figure out how I can heal me, right? I have to heal me. I have to self-reflect so that I can look to see like that behavior, whether or not I want to change that behavior, which most likely I would, right? And then I would investigate like why I have that behavior. Like, where does that come from? What was I feeling in that moment? Was I feeling threatened? Did I feel fear? Did I have like other things that were going on? So mostly it's internal. It's an internal dialogue that I'm going to have, and I'm going to investigate to find out how can I make myself feel safe. Do I need that construct? Should I act like that every single time? And I'm going to just do that. Now it's come to a point where it's kind of like, oh, I'll have to sit with myself later. And that's easier for me. You don't have to wallow in your shadow. You have to know your shadow because it's you. You have to know your capabilities. You have to know the darkest aspects of you and what you're capable of so that you know what you may not want to practice, right? You have to also know like your greatest heights of bliss and joy and appreciation so that when you're aiming in that direction, you know what it feels like because that's your magnet. Okay? All right. I think I've talked enough today. I love you guys and I hope you have a really great day. And what we're going to begin doing on this particular program is we're going to begin practicing the language of authenticity. That's what this feels like. Okay? I would love to give you some homework if you're willing. And if you're willing, maybe what you could do, okay, is to write out what it is that you would like to change about behaviors of expression you now have. Just exhaust the list. And at the end, say, I accept me. And then burn the list. All right? That would give you ease because you would be in recognition of who you truly are. Then write another list. Write the list of all of your attributes, all the beauty of you. And then write, this is me. And then burn that. Now you're integrating both. You're the pole. Accept all of you. Okay? All right. Many blessings, many benefits. Thank you guys for joining today.